Okay,
We're live.
we are live. So my name is Allison Crotzer Kimmel, and I am the author of Unbeatable Betty. Joni Stone is my amazing illustrator, and I'm really lucky today to be joined by Betty's real daughter, Jaine Hamilton, and her real granddaughter, Brook Dory. Brook also happens to be a middle school teacher. So we want to answer some questions maybe that you kiddos have after reading the book, maybe some extra insight into who Betty Robinson was. So the first question I have, I'm going to direct to her daughter, Jaine. What advice did your mom, Betty, give you about overcoming obstacles?
Well, I thought about this, and there were two kinds of obstacles, an emotional obstacle and a physical obstacle. So like, I can remember very early in grade school, having trouble getting to be friends with some people. And so my mom told me, just say hi. Start the conversation, even if you're afraid the person isn't going to like you. And that person and I became best friends because I started that conversation. So my mother that's what she told me, to overcome an emotional or personal obstacle. As far as a physical obstacle, I think she herself looked inside herself for solving the problem. She didn't go outside herself. So she didn't ignore her faith, but she also turned to her own strengths and her own resources inside her. I once was learning how to do a backflip. I watched people do it and I really wanted to do it, but I was scared. And my mom said, try it, just try it. And that sort of prompted me to try it, which I did. And I turned inside. She didn't say she was going to help me. She told me I could do it. So that positive, try it and you can do it, and go to your own resources inside your soul, inside your heart, and you can overcome things.
That's awesome. So how was your backflip now?
Well, it actually ended up pretty good. I did learn a few things, and I learned them from my daughter, who was also a diver. Brook became a diver. But yeah, the backflip, my cartwheel is better than my backflip, though.
Well, you've got me beat because I can't do either one. So that's a good segue actually to Brook. So Brook, what did your grandma tell you maybe different than what she would have told her daughter about overcoming obstacles?
So I don't think she saw obstacles very often. I think when I talked to her about any kind of challenge I was having or something that was bothering me, she didn't recognize it, not in a way that was like, she wasn't ignoring it, but there was like a confidence about her that whatever that obstacle was I was facing, I was going to get through. So it was almost like she, just in talking with her, she would validate that maybe something was hard, but I wasn't really always asking her for advice. It was almost like she was just giving me a mindset to stick to, and by the way that she talked to me, and it was always very positive and supportive, and it was like she knew I could do it. And so me knowing that she knew I could do it helped me get through it, whatever it was. But it was kind of crafty of her. I'm not really sure how she pulled that off. I can only hope that I do the same for my children, because I think it instilled something in me that I didn't know until maybe I even had my own kids.
Mm-hmm. And thinking about obstacles, one of the things that a lot of readers have really kind of been inspired by in the book is the accident and overcoming that obstacle after the great obstacles that were put in front of her after the accident. So I'll ask you, Brook, first, and then we'll go to Jaine. Did she ever talk about her biplane accident at all with you?
Not really. She talked about the Olympics, and she recognized it as something that happened to her, but I don't remember her talking in details about how she overcame things, or how she, you know, healed and came back to running, because it was a different time in her life. And so I heard more stories that were about her time with the team, and, you know, her racing for the train and kind of the startup of her career. I heard more of those stories than I did about, you know, tragedy. And I also think that has to do with my age. So, you know, I was in college when she passed away, so I'm still pretty young, and it was a pretty hefty. So I don't know if there was a time and place, you know, for that kind of story, but it was the other things that she spoke to me more about, individually, and also, you know, talking to me about my own life going on, like what was going on in my life. She always wanted to know what was going on with us. And so that was an easy way of her to get out of talking about things that maybe had happened in her life.
Right, right. Jaine, as her daughter, did she ever talk to you about the accident?
Sure, she told me about, she had dimples in her knee from where a pin had been put in her knee to stabilize it. Part of the reason that her one leg was half an inch shorter was because of that operation and the pin. So she would tell me about that, and then she would talk about the things that happened, the fact that she couldn't remember. She was in a coma for 2 months, so there were parts of the accident she just couldn't remember at all, but she knew why they had gone up in a plane to cool off. And then she did not see herself, she was never sharing self-judgments. So as she fought through the rehab, she would never tell me about those the problems that she had. She would always tell me about the successes that she had. So there was sort of a different way of looking at the problem. You can either say to somebody, don't fall off the beam, or you can say to that same person, stay on the beam. There's just two different ways to approach it, and she would stay on the beam. Yeah. It was always a success.
It was always solution focused, not, you know, kind of, it right. wasn't about that. That wasn't what defined her. It was, right. It was the achievement. I think that's really what right. makes her so cool. You know, what makes her so interesting. Did she talk to you, Jaine, about goal setting in life? Like as her kid growing up, I mean, how did she set goals for herself, whether it was with learning or something else?
You know, I don't think, oddly enough, she was focused, but I don't remember her as being goal oriented. She never gave me goals, never set goals for me. I mean, beyond get good grades, if I thought somebody looked cute, she would say, well, make going out with that person a goal. She might give me a small goal like that. I mean, that's sort of a personal anecdote there, but she got straight A's in school. So she had to have been focused, but I don't think it was from goal orientation at the expense of the process going on around her. Mm-hmm. So that, you know, I can't remember any practice of goal orientation, mm-hmm. except for the.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jaine.
Yeah, no, except for the crossing that finish line. You know, if there was something ahead of her that she wanted to do, she was focused on it. I don't know. That's not quite the same as goal, maybe, but her focus was tenacious.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I'll talk to you about that resilience in a little bit.
Okay.
Brooke, did you have any conversations with her about goals, or when you found out about the Olympics and her great triumphs, did you ask her about, you know, how she did that step by step, or?
So I don't think we had like funny goals, you know, that were like my mom was in a sorority and my grandmother was in the same sorority. And then as I went into college, I was gonna be in that sorority because it brought us together. So we had like funny things that we talked about that would bring us together, but she didn't ever ask me, you know, like, what's your plan? That was my grandfather. Like he wanted to know, like, you know, the big, like, so what are your plans? What are you going to do? you know, and that was also my dad. My mom, I think similar to my grandmother, and I have some of this as well. It was more about like, well, what are you gonna look at as you're on your way to your goal? Like, what's around you?
Right.
How can you make this work? You know? So, I think I saw that clearly in my grandmother and also in my mom. And it's unfortunate that I think there's a lot of this language around being goal oriented and that you can't be successful without it. And there is an appreciation for the process. And I try to work with kids a lot on, okay, if you don't know what you want to do as a major goal, like what's the next right thing? What can we look at just right now to take that next step forward? Because goals can be really far off. And I think that process of how you get there is really important and has a lot of value in it. And I think my grandmother also did the same.
Let me say one other thing that prompted me to think about while Brooke was talking is resourcefulness. So you can have that process orientation and focus, but you're resourceful to draw in on all the things about you that will help you, you know, cross that finish line. And that resourcefulness has been passed on to all of my children. They are very, very resourceful when it comes to accomplishing goals.
That's great. I was going to ask actually, so she didn't talk a lot about the accident. Did she talk about what it took to get over it after? I mean, when you saw the dimples in her knee or any of that, did she talk about what would have been her physical therapy at the time, or, you know, why she didn't give in?
To me, she just talked about the difficult. She did say it was hard. She shared the fact that it was tough getting through the pain. She had a lot of pain that she had to deal with. She'd never took, she would take an Advil or one of the aspirin or something like that, but not opioids. So she didn't turn away from her pain in a manner to avoid it completely, but she did talk about it. And so her overcoming what she had to overcome to be in the 36 Olympics, she did share how difficult it was to get where she was. But she also shared that she had a lot of help. She didn't turn to people for assistance so much as she did their encouragement. She really appreciated it. So she knew she had to turn it on within herself.
I think, I think about my grandfather, and I think they were of the same generation. You like gut it out.
Yes.
Gut it out, kind of just a really sort of hard scrabble, get up and keep going.
Yeah.
That's probably what's really important about Betty's story is it's that resilience factor. Brooke, I wanted to jump to that, but I didn't want to jump past you. Did you have anything to add? Did she talk to you about her training or the aftermath or her rehabilitation after the accident?
No, she didn't very much. I think I picked up from were bits and pieces of things along the way. And she was so grateful. And I just think about, as you're saying, like that generation just kind of gutting it out. And I think it was such a privilege to be a part of the Olympic team and to fulfill this dream, that those things, she was able to just push through those things because she was so grateful for having the opportunity to do that. And so I think we sometimes today especially lose sight of how big, like the Olympic stage it's not an easy place to be. It's not an easy thing to achieve. And so the goal of being back there was something that she wanted so badly because she knew that it wasn't something that a lot of people got. So it was kind of like, I'm going to push through this. This is what I imagine, right? It's like her saying, I'm going to push through this challenge and I'm going to push through this pain because I've been granted the ability to do so, by being here.
I think also she recalled what the doctors had told her, you can't do this. And no matter what it took, she was going to do what somebody told her she couldn't do. So she was a little impertinent, but in a good kind of way.
Right.
You know? Yeah.
I was thinking about, that gratitude really was a part of her success, and what a great idea that is for kids, that, gratitude and grace and just an appreciation for what you're able to do is a great part of being successful. Did she ever think of herself as differently abled because of her leg being shorter or anything like that?
To me, no. Like I said, she never saw herself. She never spoke of self-judgments. If in order to see yourself as differently abled, you sort of have to judge something as different. And she just didn't place a judgment there. So the fact that she was able to do what she did eliminated the difference in the ableness.
It's all about where she put the highlight, right? Where she put that emphasis.
Yep.
Still, I'm able to do it, right?
Yep.
Brooke, what about you? Did she ever address any of that, or?
No, I think she was annoyed sometimes that like she walked with, she walked with a little bit of a limp, or I think she felt pain in her later years, and it was almost like she wanted to be there faster than she could get there. Like she still wanted to be the fastest. She still wanted to be there, and she just couldn't always. And I think that annoyed her. But she didn't talk about it very much. And when she could still be fast, whether it was with wit or whatever, the first one to tell a joke or the first one to do something, she was there. So I think there was some of that I saw, but not so much, her ever speaking about herself different from others.
So a bit of competitiveness remained. I have to ask, did either of you ever race her?
No.
That's funny. No, we bowled together and she beat me. But we didn't, I didn't race against her. She saw me, I think she saw me run at our schools when I was young, the contests we'd have on at our fairs, our school fairs. But yeah, never raced against her.
I never raced against her, and she never encouraged us to race.
No.
Either. She never was like, you should go just have a teacher time you. So it's just to see. Like, maybe you're fast like me. Yeah. Never happened.
I think you had told me before, she let you do what you wanted to do. She encouraged you to do what you wanted. Is that right, Brooke?
Yeah. Yeah, she was always, she knew I loved gymnastics from a young age, and she just encouraged me there, and diving, and she loved the Olympics. I mean, she loved the sport, and so she encouraged me to do what I loved, and so that's what I did. But there are times where I just there's a little part of me that wishes she might have been like, hey, you should just try to run 100 yards and see what your time is.
Yeah, who knows? Well, maybe the generation now of like her great grandchildren, maybe they're the next Olympians.
Never know.
Yeah.
So can I ask, I'll start with Brooke and then we'll go to Jaine. Who did Betty admire and why? Did she ever tell you she admired someone particularly?
So I've had to ask my mom this question because I was curious about who in her life, she looked up to. Because growing up, it wasn't ever anything I asked her. And I think that was because in high school and college, I don't know if kids nowadays, but I was never like, so grandma, who's your, who do you look up to? And so I had to ask my mom that. So I should just let her answer it because she's better at doing that than have me speaking for her. Okay. Go ahead.
Well, I know she really admired her dad, who passed away when I was fairly young, but she would speak about her dad. She had a sister, so her Aunt Jaine was probably her hero because of Jaine's compassion. Oh, let me do that. Are you still there? Because of Jaine's compassion My battery is just low. So she spoke of Jaine in a great deal, admirably. Like that was the person she admired. And then as she got older, people that she admired who were then, when I was growing up, were people like Betty White. I mean, people who were animal activists and wanted people to be treated fairly and to treat the whoever you were treated fairly with respect. So she admired all those people that were able to display that kind of caring about people and their situations. But her dad and her sister, I think, were her biggest role models for her. So.
And so I wonder what it would be like to be the kind of it girl and then have to adjust to working on a team. I think that's one of my favorite parts of her story is that, you know, she was it and then she had to become part of a relay team to get that gold again. Did she ever share with either of you thoughts of having to join the relay team, how that might have been different from her first stand on the Olympic podium with gold, or how to be a good team member? We'll go with maybe Brooke first.
Yeah, go with Brooke first. Thanks.
So I think I know the second medal, the 36 medal. She spoke about it a little differently. I think, you know, it was sweeter to her. It meant more to her. In the fact that like she had overcome such obstacles to get back to that podium or back to the Olympics. And I think the team aspect of that was part of it as well. She was so young when she won her first medal that I don't think I just don't know if her maturity, you know, if she was there, what an accomplishment it was at the moment. I think she reveled in it and was so great, you know, like I said, so grateful to be representing her country. But I could tell by the way that she talked about the 36 medal that there was something about it that was different.
Right.
And I can't imagine that being a part of a team wasn't a piece of that. I think that it was, yes, coming back, but I think it was also being a part of something bigger than just herself in for that medal.
I'll add on to that I think even at the 28 Olympics, she felt she was part of a team.
Did she?
Yeah, I don't think she saw herself as an individual.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think her team was inclusive of the people who supported her, but she wouldn't have gotten to that 28 Olympics without the support of so many people that I think
that's true.
Her own assessment would have, if she were here today, she would have said her 28 team, I put it in quotes, was no less important than being a team member on the 36 relay. And of course, she loved the parade with the rest of the people on her team for 36 gold. She definitely would refer to that with so much fun. It was fun. It was like just exuberant about it. But I think the 28 again was a team accomplishment for her.
Did she?
That is true, because she would never had her shoes. She brought the two left shoes to her race, the trials, and without a team member, she never would have had the right and the left one. So
that's right.
Probably true.
It's amazing. I was going to ask, did she ever keep in contact with any of her teammates?
Yes, all of them.
Or the team at large?
Oh yeah, she kept in touch with all the team members, the people from the 28 Olympics. She kept in touch with them. She kept in touch with definitely the 36 team. They would gather at events together. I have lots of pictures of those gatherings, and she made sure where I could meet the people who were important or who were important to her, that were available, that I would meet them. So, and my biggest
memories.
Pardon me?
Any favorite memories of meeting any of those Olympians?
My favorite memory, although it's my saddest, is that I wouldn't go meet Flash Gordon because I was too embarrassed. But Buster Crabbe was, a swimmer in the the Olympics with my mom. So, and Tarzan, Johnny Weissmuller, but him I got to meet, and Jesse Owens I got to meet. That was, a huge friendship with her. But that was my, I was crying when I was so embarrassed I wouldn't go say hi to Flash Gordon.
Oh, well, you got to meet Jesse Owens, and that's pretty
Yeah.
amazing. And Tarzan, so, I mean.
Really.
So can I ask, what did she say about perseverance ever, or resilience? Even if it wasn't associated with her accident or athletics, is there any kind of nugget of wisdom that either of you can kind of think about that she might have said, or something you think she believed about resilience and being courageous or persevering?
Perseverance was probably one of her favorite words. I will tell you that. And I watched it in my daughter. My daughter was a great gymnast, but taller than a lot of the gymnasts, and took her a little longer to accomplish amazing feats, but because of her height, I think. She persevered through so much. Brooke definitely shared and embodied that perseverance that was in my mom. But yeah, that was her one of her favorite words. Go ahead, Brooke. Tell them about Brooke got the Perseverance Award, by the way.
Oh, did she?
Oh, I did. I forgot about that.
From her high school. Yep. She overcame so much, and she just stuck with it.
I bet that made your grandma proud.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks, Mom.
Well, sure.
I'm trying to think. I wish that there was like a rhyme or something that she used, to share with people. But it wasn't so much like that. I think she just constantly reminded me that I was capable of doing things, that we all were. And I think because of that, I've come up with my own little things that I use to remind myself of her. And I've said before, I use kind of, if she can, I can. And I just try to remember that, when things are challenging, because she didn't have to say the words. It was more just about how she lived and what she did that I think has stuck with me. And watching her walk the torch at such a, at an age where where she moved slowly down the steps of her apartment, but I watched her walk the Olympic torch through a part of Denver without, angry that anyone was going to help her. I mean, so that takes such perseverance and such resilience. So it was really in her actions, I think, more than, phrases or mottos that she passed on.
Well, and maybe you've just given the students who read the book the mantra, if she can, I can. I think that's kind of beautiful. I mean, that's perfect.
Thanks.
You're welcome. So I wanted to ask what you both think, and I'll let whoever wants to go first, but what do you think Betty would think about seeing, herself in a picture book? Joni Stone's beautiful illustrations were just so cute, so adorable. What would Betty say if she saw this book, on a bookshelf somewhere, or in a library, or in a kid's hand? What do you think she would think?
I think she'd see the book and she'd go, "Oh, look, that looks like me."
I was going to say the same thing. Oh, that's me.
Yeah. Truly, that's how she would react. And she'd be very excited.
Is there something
I think she would.
Oh, go ahead.
Find out that. I was just going to say, I think she would used to say duck bumps. She would get goosebumps or duck bumps in her words, so excited to see that, she's on a book. And I think, knowing that her story might lift someone else up and might pass on that perseverance. And I think that she would be so thrilled. It would make her so happy.
That's awesome. I wonder, what she might tell kids, or is there anything you think she would want them to know that wasn't in the book or in addition to the book or elaborating on something in the book?
How curious she stayed throughout her life.
Mhm.
Always curious about so many things, and if she could do it and give it a try. Yeah, just she would say that personally to every single kid.
Yeah, give it a try. She's a champion
Yes.
for her life, right? Till the very end.
Yeah, seize opportunities. Like when something comes your way, take that chance and try it. And I think that was how she got to where she was all the time.
Yeah, it's very
So
true.
I just want to tell you both, thank you so much. Is there anything that you want to add to the kids who are watching this, the teachers who are watching this with their classes, the parents maybe watching it with their own children, about your mom, Betty, about your grandma, Betty, that you want us to know or remember or think of when we think of her?
No, I hope it prompts kids to come up with an area of sports, hopefully sports, that they would like to uh, give a try. It might not be running. It might be just hopscotch. Could be anything. It could be any kind of sports. But she would want them to give something a try and not be afraid.
That's awesome. Brooke, did you have anything you wanted to add?
I think she would just say go after whatever it is that makes you feel joy, and not to forget to be grateful for the opportunities that you get along the way, and to thank the people that help you get there, because she was always, like I said, so grateful to be where she was. And she kept in touch with her high school coach until he passed away. So she didn't forget those bonds with people. And I think that you can what you can, and don't forget the people that help you along the way.
Allison, I think too, I sort of forget to say this, but I think she was an ambassador for fairness. I think that she would want kids to know that too, that be fair to your teammates. Even if somebody beats you, be fair to them, congratulate them. That respect and that fairness was a huge part of her life.
The quality of good sportsmanship.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you, ladies, so much. Thank you for sharing a little bit more about Betty with all of us. I really, really appreciate it. If you are interested in learning more about Betty Robinson, you can go to traincatcher.org. Is that right, Brooke? And learn a little bit more.
Traincatchersfoundation.org.
I'm sorry. And, if you have any questions, you can go to my author page and I'll get them to the right people. I know the right people right here to get you your answers. So you can go to AllisonCrotzerKimmel.com as well. But we want to say goodbye to Jaine and to Brooke, and we thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Such a pleasure. Thanks.